Hello people and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at Manchester City and Pep Guardiola's tactics, trying to replicate that into Football Manager, but also we are going to analyze. So in the video, of course, we're going to analyze, we're going to go over some few key details, then go into Football Manager, have a look at some of the results that we produced. Spoiler alert, some very good results, especially in possession. And of course, if you are enjoying my type of content that I'm producing, make sure you are subscribed, make sure you like the video, leave a comment as well. All of that helps this channel grow. But for now, let's just get stuck into things. Manchester City have continued to operate in a 4-3-3 system that has brought them so much success over the years, which continues to operate very little like a 4-3-3 in practice. Guardiola's systems is not only highly functional but also highly fluid, allowing for much in the way of positional rotation and, well, fluidity. While City theoretically have one of the strongest sides in the league and the ability to chop and change personnel as they please, Guardiola has consistently filled the same 11 this season. Gabriel Jesus' transformation has perhaps been one of the most impressive this season, although Bernardo Silva might have something to say about that. The Brazilian wing wizard has taken all of his pace and dynamism to new levels this season, becoming an out-and-out winger down the right and one of the key chance creators in this City side so far. While Pep may be one of the most innovative coaches in the world of football, some things do remain the same. As already mentioned, Pep's tactics always involve a high degree of positional rotation and fluidity, which manifests as a direct result of positional play. When you divide the field up vertically into different zones, more than two players never occupy the same corridor of space at a time. So in layman's terms, when João Cancelo, the left back, drifts inside, you'll usually find Ilkay Gundogan, the actual left-sided central midfielder, high in central. You'll also likely find Jack Grealish, the left winger, holding a true wide position, and Laporte offering support in behind, but diagonally, to either his right or left. City are absolute masters of this art, to the extent where you rarely even find more than one player occupying the same vertical corridor as another. This is where City's inverted fullbacks were born years ago, but the Sky Blues have used this tactic less and less this season. In turn, João Cancelo and Kyle Walker are lower and wider in the build-up than previous years, with City's dominance and control slightly more in the wide areas as opposed to the central overloads they favoured in the past. They've been quicker to switch play or go direct into their wingers, often even bypassing the fullbacks in the build-up completely. With Jack Grealish now firmly one of City's most important and impressive stars, the team have channeled greater attention and energy into his glued-like feet. City's false nine will still drop off and look to engage in the build-up, creating another number in central areas, and Ilkay Gundogan will still float high to take up that position instead. They are far too good at creating chances in their many other schemes, particularly through their silky smooth wingers. City's use of positional rotation only plays into this, creating havoc for the opposition. Bernardo Silva is more likely to drift wide right and rotate with Gabriel Jesus than Ilkay Gundogan with his left wing pairing on the other side. The German rotates more often with the false nine, who will usually rotate in and out with Gabriel Jesus, likely due to the Brazilian's former days as a forward. You can also find a fullback wide when the winger or central midfielder on their side has drifted infield, or the exact opposite can hold true as they invert and look to get higher up the pitch. Rodri generally holds a steady and constant position, as do the two centre-backs and the goalkeeper. This means that City always have a defensive spine intact at any time they lose the ball, which in itself is a rarity. Manchester City's build-up is truly one of the best in the world. They rarely ever make a mistake when playing out from the back, and their movements are coordinated and timed perfectly, constantly open up space for other players. The quickness of their movement and passing is often unstoppable, and it's always about progressing forward and looking to find routes closest to goal, without just lumping it forward and hoping for the best. Beyond the speed and intelligence in which they play out from the back, the most important quality that Manchester City possess is exceptional movement to open up space for other players. When the centre-backs have the ball in particular, the central midfielders will often dart one way so that the others can sprint the other. It's so simplistic yet highly effective. Good pressing teams want to stop City from playing, so they will often closely follow the players running one way. That completely opens up space for the player running the other way to easily move into before the opposition can react. What makes City all the more impossible to stop is that every single player has an attacking role. Ruben Dias and Laporte can often be found high in the opposition's half, helping to keep the possession ticking. Kyle Walker and João Cancelo will also pick their moments to get further forward, inverting, overlapping and underlapping whenever appropriate. Even Rodri, whose role is more about his work rate off the ball and his exceptional ability to switch play left to right, will time movements forward, creating an extra number in central areas for a shot. Speaking of switching play, that has been one of City's key principles in many matches this season. Ruben Dias and Rodri in particular are constantly looking for moments to switch play from right to left, over to Jack Grealish, who holds his width exceptionally well. Meanwhile, Laporte may be used alongside Rodri to switch play over to the other side for someone like Gabriel Jesus. When it comes to shapes, it's also important to note again just how fluid and flexible City are out from the back. Last year, everybody had them down as a 2-3-5 shape. This year, a back four is much more in line, so if anything, City are most commonly building up in a 2+2 structure, using one of the two central midfielders, Rodri, and the two centre-backs to then find space wide and forward. The space further forward is often available through the use of a false nine, who drifts in deep and allows others to run in behind. With 63% possession this season and near 89% pass accuracy, Manchester City truly are impossible to stop when in full flow. Manchester City press diligently in the wider areas with a high degree of intensity, and the attacking team are often forced to go long or out of bound due to the pressing. In those wider areas, Pep's men look to create diamonds in stopping their opposition from playing out, usually a mix of the winger, central midfielder, striker and fullback. But Rodri too is almost active in coming across to the side of the ball and often takes part, even if only situating himself close by. With this narrow diamond shape and the intensity deployed with it, opposition teams only really have the option of switching the play to the other side if they want to escape. If they succeed in doing so, City are quick to come across and then pressure on the other side, with Rodri often one of the quickest across. Beyond the intensity in which they press, it's also worth talking about the overarching shapes that the Sky Blues look to create. That is, however, a difficult task, as the defensive shape structures frequently changing dependent on the situation. A 4-1-4-1, 4-3-3 and 4-4-1-1 are three of City's common shapes to use when opposition have the ball inside their own half. One reason why these shapes are so fluid is that they are more often reactive to the positioning of the opposition and the ball, rather than remaining compact in a stagnant shape that never changes. But unfortunately, that wraps up this brief analysis on Pep Guardiola and Manchester City so far this season. We're now going to go into Football Manager to have a look at the tactic that we have created and also see how well Manchester City did, because the possession with this tactic is absolutely amazing. So now let's just go into the game. So here we are in the game, and of course we do have the 4-3-3 for Manchester City, and of course interestingly we do have that false 9 up top. For me on Football Manager it doesn't work the best, but of course we still needed to use it as this is a recreation. So we're going to go through the team instructions, the player roles and their instructions, all of that good stuff before looking at the results. For the mentality, we are going to be using a positive mentality. That mentality looks to knock the ball around, probe and wait patiently, looking for an opening. The attacking width is set to extremely wide. We are going to be using those wider areas, stretch and play, and most importantly, we need those wingers staying wide, holding their width when we're building our play. For the approach play, we are going to pass into space. Now that actually helps once we stretch the play, so now we've got space in those vertical channels where we have runners making runs, and all we want to do is pass it into their path. That also can increase the tempo, because as you can see our tempo is on much lower. So of course we do want to approach the game in a slower mentality, but we're going to be using freedom and we're going to be using passes into space to try and increase that tempo. We are also going to be focusing down those flanks, trying to create those triangles and diamonds out wide, and we're also going to be playing out from the defense. The passing directness is set to much shorter, the tempo is on much lower. In the final third, we are going to be putting in low crosses, and for the creative freedom, be more expressive. In transition, when the possession has been lost, counter press, try and win the ball back as soon as possible. Goalkeeper in possession, slow down the pace, look for the centre backs and take short kicks. Out of possession, which is very important of course, the defensive shape was using the offside trap, much higher line of engagement, much higher defensive line. We need those centre backs in the opposing half, and the defensive width is forced the opposition outside. We are using a tighter marking, the trigger press is set to more often, prevent the short goalkeeper distribution distribution. Again, we are using get stuck in, but you can remove that. For me, it just produces better results, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Now for the players in goal, we do have the sweeper keeper on support. Both fullbacks, interestingly, are fullbacks on support. We're not using inverted wing backs because, like in the analyst, Manchester City are kind of using that less and less often. The fullbacks can actually overlap and underlap, invert, whichever they choose or whichever they feel is appropriate at that time. So they are instructed to sit more narrow and close down more. In defense, we do have two ball playing defenders. One is instructed to stay wider. I'm not exactly sure why I did that. Let's just remove that just in case. I think that's because I started with an inverted wing back, so when he cuts in, I wanted Laporte to stretch out wide, but we aren't using inverted wing back anymore. Either way, let's just leave it on stay wide. It worked, I believe. In defensive midfield for that Rodri role, we are using a defensive midfielder on defense. In central midfield for the Bernardo Silva role so far, we are using a Mazzala. He's going to be closing down more often and crossing more often as well. And on the left side of central midfield, it's a central midfielder on attack, moving into those channels and closing down more. Up top, we do have a false nine, so of course the idea is to stretch the play. They're going to be staying wide, he's going to be staying wide, he's going to drop deep, and then what we want is the central midfielder moving into that channel, getting further forward right here. The Mazzala as well, but he's going to operate mainly in this area here. This is kind of what we want, and he can actually cut inside and he can go further forward or cut inside, whatever he chooses to do. So for that Jack Grealish role, we do have an advanced playmaker on support because we do want the team to be looking for him constantly. He's instructed to stay wider and close down more. On the right, we do have a winger on that attacking duty, closing down more often. And lastly, up top, we do have that Phil Foden role, the false nine on support, dropping deep and passing it shorter. But that there's the tactic all wrapped up. We're now going to look at the results and the data. You don't want to miss the data. Of course, you don't want to miss the results as well. So now let's head over to the results and data. So for the results in the Premier League, we won the league. We absolutely smashed it. We played 38, a goal difference of plus 71, points tally on 106. In the UEFA Champions League, we lost in the final. Now this save was actually holidayed. I created a tactic. Once I got it to how I want it to be, I then started again and then holidayed the whole year. Now, we holidayed all the way to the last day of the season, so we played 38 games in the Premier League. Of course, we didn't know we was going to reach the Champions League final, so I decided to play it, and I probably should have just left it to the assistant manager. The Emirates FA Cup, we got knocked out in the fourth round by Manchester United. In the Carabao Cup, again, knocked out by Man United, but in the Community Shield, we were the winners. So in the league, we did win 35 games, we drew 1, losing 2. We scored 85 goals, conceding just the 14. That gave us a points tally of 71. So for the most goals, we came in third with 85. For the most shots, 4. We're only in 7th place, so we don't actually shoot a lot, but we are very clinical. For the fewest shots against, it's Manchester City, which is all good news if we have the ball. For the best pass completion, Manchester City with 92%. Most possession, Manchester City with 58%. Most tackles won, not in the top 8. Most dribbles made, Manchester City with 678. Most clean sheets, Manchester City, and the fewest conceded, Manchester City. For the top goal scorers, Gabriel Jesus in joint 4th with 16. Most assists, Kevin De Bruyne on 11. Bernardo Silva also on 11. Most key passes, nobody there. Best pass completion, Laporte on 98%. Ruben Dias also on 98%. Most tackles won, nobody there. Most dribbles made, we do have Raheem Sterling on 124. Jack Grealish on 118. Most clean sheets, Edison, of course, and the fewest conceded, Edison. Now there's something else I wanted to show you, which is... where is it? Oh, there it is. Passes completed. We're already on it. We are second in passes completed. Now, this has been a big issue in Football Manager 2022. People haven't been able to get possession-based tactics the way they want it, and the more defensive-minded teams. So we can see that Newcastle, Tottenham, possibly Wolves, I'm not too sure. Norwich as well on the game are fairly defensive. They accumulate a high number of passes. As you can see, Norwich with the most passes in the league. Absolute crazy, but we managed to get a high number of passes completed as well. That is an absolute huge bonus. But now let's go over to that data hub. So now we're in the data hub and I've just selected a few things that I felt was key, especially when analysing this tactic. Now looking at the possession, how are Manchester City in possession? As we can see, we infrequently win the ball, mainly because we always have the ball, but we have been reliable in possession. Looking at the passes, we do attempt a lot of passes, we do complete a lot of passes, and the passing has been accurate. For the defensive efficiency, we do have a quiet defense and impenetrable as well, very good. And for the goal output, we do have a high quality shooting with strong defending. With the attacking efficiency, you can see that we were aggressive and clinical in our approach, and for the shooting, we were aggressive along with high quality. So all of these attacking metrics have been very good so far for Manchester City. Now for the passes attempted, most of the passes made were just around that halfway line, so we were fairly positive in our approach, especially when knocking the ball about. And when we're looking at the team attacking metrics, goals per game, we absolutely smashed it. Fouls against per game, we were fouled quite a lot. Expected goals per game as well, we are beating the Premier League average. Looking at the movement as well, we completed a lot of dribbles, but we were also reliable in possession. We hardly lost the ball. Looking at the pass map as well, this is kind of the average shape that we may throw. So you can see that we do have our two centre backs here, with Rodri just kind of securing his position in front of it. And then we do have the two wider players who are a little bit wider than I want them, but again, the attacking width is set to extremely wide, so that kind of can be expected. Our two central midfielders are highly advanced along with that false nine, and Jack Grealish holding his position out wide on that advanced playmaker role. So that there is all the data. We can now look at the squad stats, who were the best performers, the top goal scorers, the most creative players, all of that good stuff. For the top goal scorers, Gabriel Jesus with 21 goals in all competitions, Kevin De Bruyne with 17, Ferran Torres with 10, Raheem Sterling also on 10. Looking at the assists, Bernardo Silva with 15, so too Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling on 11, and Jack Grealish on 10. The best performers, the top three, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and Jack Grealish. Mahrez not too far behind. Ederson as well had a very good season. Kyle Walker, Rodri, Raheem Sterling, pretty much the whole team played well, but Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and Jack Grealish, the two central midfielders and that left winger, were the key players. But unfortunately, that wraps up this video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed recording this video. I also enjoyed creating this tactic as well, because when watching it at first, it was absolutely beautiful. So it's nice to know that on holiday as well, it works just as well. But I'll see you guys soon. If you are enjoying my type of content, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, leave your tactical recommendations. But all of that stuff helps this channel grow. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. Peace out. And God bless.